Roderick.
I want new terms, and I shall have new terms, or have you forgotten what I am?
There she is. There's my Cleopatra.
Everything has a price. We can sort this. Woman to woman.
I'm not a woman.
You know what I am capable of. You know what I have done. You know who I am.
You're a collection of impeccable, elaborate masks in orbit of a stunted heart.
The Fall of the House of Usher is a masterpiece and a warning of a destined outcome. It is the perfect representation of how capitalism turns into predatorial capitalism. It is the essence of excess, power, privilege, and wealth, all taken to the extreme. It illustrates a hunger that can never be satiated when ambition turns secretly into a conquest for desires and wants, facilitated through violence. So follow me as I explain how the fall of the House of Usher is a perfect illustration of the fall of pure capitalism and the rise of the oligarchical system, predatorial capitalism, the new Gilded Age. Roderick and Madeline Usher have built a pharmaceutical company into an empire of wealth, privilege, and power. The story of the fall of the House of Usher starts in November 2023, right after Roderick Usher, the wealthy and powerful CEO of corrupt pharmaceutical company Fortunato Pharmaceuticals, lost all 6 of his children, from oldest to youngest. However, secrets come to light when the heirs to the Usher dynasty start dying. The reality of Roderick's children dying forces him to reveal the dark Usher family's secrets of the past. This secret was that they made a deal with a being to obtain the power, prestige, and wealth they had by sacrificing their children. That's right, their children were their sacrificial lamb for their ambition. The key that opened the door to their wealth was formed from the bones, figuratively, of their children. It shows exactly what predatorial capitalism is. It's a lunatic philosophy that everything has a price. Even what you consider your most precious commodities, the ones you love, all could be sold if the price is right.
Everything has a price. Every negotiation is a point of entry.
That's predatorial capitalism. What is predatory capitalism exactly? Well, it is described as a system where profit-seeking behavior prioritizes short-term gains and disregards ethical considerations, social welfare, and long-term environmental consequences. It is characterized by practices that exploit workers, consumers, and natural resources without regard for sustainability or fairness. This can include aggressive market tactics to eliminate competition and create monopolies. The real sad part about predatorial capitalism becoming paramount in the system today is people can't see the difference. People believe this is capitalism, but in reality this isn't. Predatory capitalism is an extreme, unfettered, uninhibited version of capitalism. It is a twisted, sociopathic form of it. These two forms of capitalism couldn't be any further from each other. For example, it's like comparing the predatorial insect, the praying mantis, to a butterfly, because they're both insects. The House of Usher shines a light on how predatorial capitalism works in real time. It may have fiction-based elements to it, but that doesn't change the fact that it is a visual playbook exposing predatorial capitalism at its most monstrous.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right.
And nothing symbolizes that more than Madeline and Roderick Usher. Roderick Usher is that physical embodiment of what predatorial capitalism is. Roderick and Madeline Usher were timid, fearful, insecure, siblings who were abused by not only their mother, but the father who sired them through an affair with their mother. They grew up in an environment where they felt as though they had no control over their life. So they decided to look at power in a perverse way. Power became the tool and weapon to use to mold their environment in a way that favors their skewed reality. This is the problem with predatorial capitalism at its core, because it attracts these types of personalities in droves, the social personalities that haven't really gained real strength to understanding weakness, so they end up hating their weakness, looking at it as a flaw, and fawn over dominance as the saving grace.
You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God.
To be fair, it's not only predatorial capitalism that gives off an aroma that these personalities can't ignore. It's also predatorial politics that attract the same types of personalities. They're interchangeable. But today, we're going to focus on the real problem that affects the everyday person, unfettered capitalism. Those who prostrate themselves before the altar of predatorial capitalism will do anything for power, money, and control. And this is exactly what the Usher siblings did. Once anyone becomes beholden to this philosophy, they symbolically, ritualistically inscribe this belief within their own hearts, a figurative signature that forfeits any morality or love of anything, that includes even themselves. The monetary power they crave takes center stage in everything. Roderick and Madeline are responsible for a horrifying number of deaths, primarily through their corrupt business practices at Fortunato Pharmaceuticals. The number of people they slaughtered was astronomical. They are responsible for at least 55,000 unnamed civilians who overdosed on ligadone, a drug sold by Fortunato, as mentioned in the A Midnight Dreary episode. This number increases dramatically in the episode The Raven, where it is mentioned that 941,878 unnamed American civilians overdosed on ligadone. During the clinical trials for ligadone, at least 5 people died. Therefore, considering the mentioned overdose deaths and clinical trial fatalities, the Usher twins are linked to the deaths of at least 996,957 individuals through their business practices. It's important to remember that these numbers represent the direct impact of Fortunato's products and doesn't include the global fatalities. The Usher family obsession with power and control had no limits. Their embrace of predatorial capitalism meant that no one was safe from their ambition, and ironically that included themselves. They also became victims of this tragic story of their own making. Because as large as that body count is that they have caused, it started with something more personal. The victims weren't some nameless shapes that were dancing in the shadows of some unknown homes. Their victims were their own children, their first sacrifice to their lust for control. But real horrifying truth is that they knowingly, willingly threw their children into the fire of their ambition, having them burnt up and eaten up by whatever power can grant them what they wanted most of all, control and money. Even when the Usher siblings made the deal back in 1979, Madeline mentioned to Roderick that he had more to consider than she did, because he had kids and she didn't. Nevertheless, Roderick knowingly condemned all of his children to early deaths, summing it up to a done deal, with hardly a moment of hesitation. Yes, Roderick Usher had 2 children, Frederick and Tamerlane, with his first wife, Annabelle Lee, before making the deal with Verna, according to the show. The deal was made to ensure their success and immunity from prosecution for a crime, but it stipulated that their descendants would die before them. After the deal, Roderick had more children with other women, totaling 6 children overall. And this is why predatorial capitalism is embraced by those who have this type of personality, because the damage Death, chaos, and mayhem that it causes is chalked up to indirect collateral damage. It allows those who are really murderous beasts to hide behind the illusion of law, which is represented by the Pim Reaper, the guy who is their go-to lawyer. The Usher children didn't matter to him. Why? Because he had more of them. Even knowing that their fate was sealed, his wives were collateral damage too. They were used and abused and thrown away. His children were viewed as a means to an end, a byproduct, a sacrifice of necessity, to get him where he desired to go. Roderick Usher didn't discuss this with his first wife. He did this on his own, essentially selling his children for profit. Sound quite familiar, doesn't it? The Usher siblings were boundless in their cruelty, and predatorial capitalism was the vehicle that allowed them to plow through other people's lives without remorse, as long as it got them to their end goal. This is why we celebrate in the West extreme excess, not just success, extreme success, where the motto is, enough is never enough, even if it destroys the very foundations of society itself. Predatorial capitalism is short-sighted and callous at its core, and the Usher siblings punctuate this perfectly, running their family business with unyielding carnage, destroying their own children's potential, stifling all creativity, only rewarding those who bend the knee to their power, instead of creating strong children with a granite-like moral compass. They create weak, sycophantic children, workers and associates, who follow orders blindly and unquestionably, even to their own demise. Sounds societally familiar, doesn't it? This is what predatorial capitalism causes. It is the byproduct that it defecates out. It is parasitical in its DNA. This is why you will see erratic and contradicting behavior in those who supposedly have the best of the best, still self-medicating in order to escape into a fictitious reality because it's not enough, even though they have it all. But in the end, predatorial capitalism is a beast that very few people survive riding. Like Verna, the living incarnation of consequence, predatorial consequences are paid not only in blood, but also with the self-annihilation of the system that once supported its use. The Usher family fate was sealed the moment they fell into this illusion. There is no escape from predatorial capitalism. The name predatorial means the devourer, the hunter of prey. And those who embrace this philosophy also are soon consumed by this reality. There's no escaping this outcome. And the Usher family found this out the hard way.
You know, I've worked with a lot of truly influential people over the years, but when it comes to sheer body count, you're in my top 5.